This is Gemara Makkos, Daf Tes. We're holding on Chasam and Beis, about 10 lines from the bottom. The two dots, Hakol Goylin, and we like once again the incredible Schos HaTeira to be a refuah shalema for Tinoik ben Miriam Ahuva b'Seir Sha'ar Choyle Yisrael. So approximately 10 lines from the bottom, we quote the Mishnah that says, "Hakol goylin al yidei Yisrael." If someone kills b'shogeg a yid, there is, of course, the halacha that we have been discussing, which is that of galus. Says the Gemara, "Hakol goylin al yidei Yisrael asiyimai." This is a classical, encompassing statement. So, frag the Gemara, what does it come to include? Says the Gemara, Lasui Eved Vikuti comes to include an Eved or a Kuti that they too, if they kill someone b'shagig, they go to goals. Says the Gemara, I'll bring you a raya. Tanin Allah de Tan Rabbanon Eved Vikuti Koyle Veloy Kel Yisrael. If they kill Yid, and if he saw Koyle Veloy Kel Vikuti. So a klarai, so beish, I'm having v'kuti gal the Israel, if they kill Yid v'loike, goylez when the katli, if they kill Yid, v'loike when delate, when will they get Makkos, if they curse the Yid, Eli Israel, frek to Gemara, but a Yid, goyle v'loike alidei kuti, what is the case? Where by via doing an action to a kuti, a Yid gets galus, a Yid will get Malchus. Says the Gemara, Bishlam a Goyl, I understand. Galus makes sense when the Katzle, if he kills the Kuti. Eloloika mai delatiye, that he cursed him, but the problem is Vinasi Ba'amcha. Says the Torah, you cannot curse Nasi Ba'amcha. From there we darshan Baisim Asamcha. It's only when you're doing an action of your people, and of course, kutim are not considered oisei maisamcha. So rather, explains the Gemara, Ela Amar Ravacha Bar Yankiv Kigoyin Shehayid Boy. Says Ravacha Bar Yaakov, the case must be Shehayid Boy Vuhuzam. Case is where a yid gives edus against a kuti, in which the Aveira is one that would be Chayiv Malchus, and the Yid is found to be a Zaymim. The Kavasai Gabi Yavet Shayid by Vahuzam, says the Gemara, but doesn't work, because what's the parallel? That the same case is by the Eved. What's the problem? Eved bar Eidusu, and Eved can't give Eidus. So Elam Raviachal Beit Ravika, and the last time Nocha is kin and going. You know what the case is? Sheiko Akah. That a Yid hit a kuti, as we turn over to Tes Amid Aleph, Shein by Shaveh Pruta. He hit a kuti, but a blow, one which is not valued as a Shaveh Pruta. Tomer Avami, Amr Av Yechlan, Hako, Shein by Shaveh Pruta, Loike, V'lo Makshina Hako, Liklo, and it's not the same dinim, Hakla, Liklo, meaning, don't come along and ask, how could this be? How could it be that the halacha is that there's going to be malchus? We just learned a moment ago, klape klala, loisor ba'isei ma'isa amcha, and it's only when it's oisei ma'isa amcha, so therefore maybe we should say the same thing should apply over here, klape, our halacha of hakol, says Gemara, no, loi makshinon, we do not equate the two of them. And we continue quoting the end of the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that everyone goes to Galus. That was the klal that we started with. Except for a ger taishav. Says the Gemara, Alma ger taishav akamu. What do we see? We see a ger taishav has a din of an akum. Problem is, if a ger taishav would go to galus al yidei ger taishav. If he kills another ger taishav, so but if there's a din of galus, then clearly he does not have a din of an akum. Amar Rav Kahana lo kasha. Kam beger toishav shahara ger toishav. Kam beger toishav shahara Yisrael. That's going to be the case of Golos, of course, is killing Yisrael. Igadrami kraya adadi, those, the same give or take, 10 lines down. The first one line is Ika. They ask a stira between the psukim. Ulibnei Yisrael, uliger taisha v'seicham, tiana sheisharim. There should be 6 cities. Uksiv in the pasuk says, v'yilachem harim lemiklat, and the cities will be for a miklat lachem, v'lei legerim. So is he yad's for gerim or is not for gerim? So how do we answer up the stira? And this is the same terrace we said a moment ago. Shaharag ger taishav, and that's going to be the difference between the two cases. Ask the Gemara 1 second. Viriminhi, I'll ask you a contradiction. Ask the Gemara 1 second. My Gemara just disappeared from in front of me. Viriminhi lefikach, says the Braisa ger va'akum shahargu neheragim ketaning der tumidakum. So ask the Gemara. It sounds like, what type of ger are we referring to? One that is similar to a guy. Ma'akum loishna the katal bar mina minei. Just like by a guy, it doesn't make a difference if he killed the bar minei, another guy, v'loishna the katal the lav bar minei. Either way, the halach is nerag. I'm guaranteeing shav loishna the katal bar minei, v'loishna katal lav bar dinei. Nerag, in both cases you get killed. Answers the Gemara, Amar Rav Chisda, like Kasha Kacha Hargu Derech Yerida, Kacha Hargu Derech Aliyah. Says the Gemara, don't forget the very basic din of Galus only happens if it's Derech Yerida. Explains the Gemara, Derech Yerida Yisrael, of course, is Gali. That by a yid, there would be Galus, so Ihunami, Sagile Begalus, Derech Yerida Yisrael Potter, then Hu Nerag. Then this case of a Gertaish will be more chamer. Since there's no din of Galus, he's going to be chayiv misa. Ask the Gemara 1 second. Amrle Rava v'lav kal v'chaimru frekt Rava sekal v'chaimer. Uma derech yirida the Yisrael gali. If who's in a downward motion that a yid is chayiv Galus, ihunami sagale begalus. That makes sense. But Derech Aliyah the Yisrael Potter, you nerag. Why is he nerag? Should it be more chamor? So Elamai Rava answers Rava, 7 lines in the white lines. The case is talking about one where the Gerateshav thought it is mutter. That's the case, meaning it wasn't a real shoygig. He thought it was mutter. In such a case, a Yisrael would not actually get Golus, as we've seen on previous Dafim. That's why the comparison to Gerteshav is Chayim Misa. Amrle Abaya, wait, what's Aimer Mutter? Aimer Mutter is Anasu, we learned back in Daf Zayin. It's a din of an Einus, you're pottering Gansin. Amrle Shani, Aimer Mutter, Karav Lemizid, Huvazla Taimayu, the Hitmar, as Mamish, carbon copy, as we learned back over there. He thought the person was an animal and it was a person. Cannot even say Gertaishav. Rav Avarchayev, Aimer to Karv Lemezir, Chesar Potter, Mutter is an Einisu, and that is going to be the Machlokes over here. Frag Gemara, Isvei Rav Rav Chisda. Rava asked Rav Chisda 1 second. Says in the pasuk, Hincha Meis, on the first Y line, Al Isha Asher Lakachta. You're going to die because the woman you talked to, Avimelech, after taking Sarah Imenu, is told, behold, you're going to die on the wife that you took. My love, says Gemara B'dei Adam. Sounds like this is Misa B'dei Adam. And therefore, what would we see? We see that even though it's a form of Iver Mutter, Avimelech did not know, of course, that she was actually Avraham Avinu's wife. And we see that what's going to be the halacha of such a scenario? They're going to be chayiv. Answers Marloi b'dei Shemayim. They cannot bring you a raya d'chsev mechatoi li, says the pasuk, from sinning against me. Of course, li in here refers to a Kadosh Baruch. Ask Gemara, weikul l'taimev chatalsi l'kem What do you mean that's how the Torah talks? You're right that it says mechatoi li. But who enforces the din? Of course, that's the Adam. So Esvei Abaye Rava, Abaye asked Rava, Goyigam Sadik Taroik says in the pasuk you're going to kill. Would you kill a tzaddik? So what do we see? We see that even though it's a case of an Iver mutter, still the halacha seeming, and because it's a case of an Iver mutter, Kadosh Baruch Hu seemingly accepts that he has a din of a tzaddik klap in his ma'isa. Answers the Gemara also the Kai Mehadadi Aluye explains the Gemara there is as he Kidka Mahadri Aluye as he answers Vata Hoshev Ishes Ish Kinavi who return her he is a Navi. So what is Hashem adding on in his response to Avimelech as we turn over to Testament Beis? Explains the Gemara Ishes Navi who Titi Hader explains that Kadosh Baruch Hu she, Sari Minu, is the wife of a Navi, therefore you have to return to Lav Navi, but if she was not the wife of a Navi, Loit Hadir, that makes no sense. So Ella Kedamar Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Damar Rav Shmuel Nachmani on the third line of Testament Beis, Damar Rav Yenason, Hachi Kamar Lev, Ata Hashev is Ishmi called Makam in all cases. Kamrit, I go Gam Sadik Haroig. What do you do with the pasuk? Oloimer Liach Chaisi Vegoimer Naviu Umimchala Marach Sanyahu Shabali Ir Aliske Achilu Shtia Shailin Isai Klum Shailin Isai Ishchazu Achais Chazu Mikan. What do we see from the way that they spoke? He's and he killed because he should have learned, he did not learn. They should have asked appropriate questions, which they did not. We continue from the Mishnah, the first Mishnah of Tes Amid Beis. About 12 lines down, assuming Nagala Divi Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir, Megala Machlaikes. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, does a blind person go to Gulls? Hasoine Nagala. Rabbi Yisrael, Hasoine Nerag, Chayavisa, they should kimuad. As we've already seen prior, it's as if he's muad, meaning we know that he did the ma'isa deliberately. Rav Shimon Aimer Yishain Nagala, Yishain Nagala. Zaklau says Rav Shimon. Kol shiyach lemer das harag in a good shlo das harag or is it good? It says Rav Shimon. We got to look at the case. Was it bedas potentially or not? So Tanur Rabbanan says the Gemara 8 lines from the Y lines again. Tessa mebeis b'loi roi says the Torah that when is her galus? If it was an act without seeing, pratla suma divi Rabbi Yehudi, you have to be able to see. If you're not shaykh to seeing, it can't be one that was done without seeing. If you can't see. Says Rabbi Yehuda, there's no culture. The rabbi says Asuma. Says Rabbi Mamish. The exact opposite. You can't see, so a blind person is included in can't see. My time with Rabbi Yehuda, they'll say Vashiavos Eo Bayar. Afilu Suma Asa Blei Rois Mate comes to exclude Rameir Blei Rois Lemait Bivlida Lemait Blidas Lemait. So says Rameir Maskim, it's come to Lemait, but we have a problem. We have two miyutim, one after the other, and the halacha is, miyot achai miyot. Vein miyot achai miyot, elo the rabbi, so if you do v'lidas, prat le-miskavin udas. Says if you didn't know, so two miyutim comes to exclude miskavin. Continues the Gemara, and we're going to pull up at the Mishnah over here, as when we get to the Mishnah, actually, no, I'm noticing the next stop is a little bit longer. Let's see. Says the Gemara in the first white line, let's see how far we could go. Rabbi Yisi Omer Asini Nerag Palo Yasser, but there's no Asra. Yes, we should remember back from Daf Zayin. Says the Gemara, Masnisa in his home. Rabbi Yisi Rabbi Yehuda. What does Rabbi Yisi Rabbi Yehuda say? Says the Gemara, as we've seen already. Daf Vavam base explains the Gemara. Says Rabbi Yisi Rabbi Yehuda the Tanya. We learned in a brayse. Rabbi Yisi Rabbi Yehuda Omer Chaver in Tzarech Asra. Why? Lefi. As we've explained back in Daf Vav, Shimon Aimer Yishen Goyla v'chulu Tanya Ketzad Amar Rav Shimon Yishen Goyla v'Yishen Shein Goyla Nifsak Goyla Nishmat Ein Goyla explains the Gemara. It's going to be a chilik how the case happened. If it was Nifsak or it was Nishmat, what happened to the axe? If the rope broke, then there's guls. That's a shaykik. If it was nishrat, if it slipped out, then there's no Galus, because we don't know for sure it was b'shoigig. Only if it slipped the trowel, the utensil out of his hand. Explains the Gemara. And actually, let's begin the next Mishnah. Where do you go to Galus? L'shalish of Evar Yarden, l'shalish of Eretz Canaan, 3 in each. Shenamar, Eshal Sharm Tenu, maybe Yarden, Eshal Arm Tenu, Eretz Canaan, Vegoim Her, Achel Nivchur, Shalish Eretz Yisrael, Lo Yeshalish Evar Yarden, Kaltais, they only had the power of saving once all 6 were separated. Shenamar, Shish, Ari Miklat Yena, Achu Shashtan, Kaltais Kachas. They would make signs pointing the roads. On the way to Galus, they give to the Bichamim. Why they should talk to him. He should also say, no, I'm running to Ari Miklat. Everyone went to Ari Miklat originally, said Rabbi Yehuda. Bezin Sholchan Bezin would take them out. Those who were Chayim Misa Bezin would kill. They would bring you back. Of course, the Gemara is going to elaborate a little bit deeper, but concludes the Mishnah Visarida teaching us that originally everyone went to Golus, and then Bezin would take out those who were not Chayiv. Pick it up from the Gemara B'siyata Dishmaya.